You're listening to Ideal Practice, episode number 189. And today, guys, I want to do something a little different. I've got a little reflection for you. Over the last couple of episodes, I have spoken with two really thoughtful, driven women. You may have heard my conversation with Robertson and Emma Lagerlow. Those were in episodes 187 and 188. These are two very different women doing completely different things on the opposite sides of the planet. And yet, I noticed a pattern in their story that I think has something to teach us. And I've been pondering it. I've been sitting with it ever since I spoke to them because it's really subtle, but I think it's everything. And if you catch this one thing, it can change not only how you think about your work, but how you move forward in the development and growth of your practice. I think it can change your level of success and your joy in your work. And yeah, that's where I want to go with you today. So, stay tuned. Hi, I'm Wendy Pitts-Reeves, and with over 2 decades of experience in the private practice world, I've built my 6-figure business while learning a lot of lessons the hard way. This is the first podcast that shows you how to apply the principles of energy, alignment, and strategy to build a practice that is profit-centered, but people-forward. This is the Ideal Practice Podcast. Hey guys, welcome back to another episode of the Ideal Practice Podcast. This is Wendy Pitts-Reeves, your host. And of course, as always, I'm excited to be hanging out with you guys today. It's such a treat when I get to just chill and have a little conversation with you. I want to share some ideas today that I think you're going to enjoy. But before I get into those, can I just ask you guys for a favor? I know you're listening to this podcast because you tell me. I know you're enjoying it because you tell me that too. Would you please leave me a review? You're doing a great job of giving us some 5-star, what's the word I want? A 5-star rating. And that's been great and that's super helpful. But your words carry extra weight. And when you take the time to actually type in to Apple Podcasts or Spotify, wherever you listen to this, when you type in what it is you love about the podcast, how it's helpful to you, why you think this is worth your time, that carries a lot of weight and it will encourage other folks to tune in as well. And I would really love that and appreciate it so much. And I'll share it here on the podcast too. I'm not kidding. We'll do that. So I just wanted to mention that real quick before I get into the nitty-gritty of today, because I got some stuff I want to share with you. So I've been thinking about these two conversations a lot, not just what these women were doing, but how they're doing it, because I kept thinking there's a theme here, there's a pattern here, and what they are doing is not actually what I think most people do. So if you happen to tune into episode 187, that's when I was speaking with Rachel Robertson. We were talking about all that she's gone through as a kinesiologist in the development of her Pilates studio. Now she's in Vancouver, Canada. They use different language than what we use here in the States, but it's basically the same idea. And she was combining a couple of different ways of working to create a whole new, richer level of service for her clients. But what stood out to me wasn't just her success, which was no small deal, but it was how many times she was willing to change the structure of her business when it stopped working for her life. For example, she was talking about how in the beginning, she and her husband both were working in the same field, and they were working in a gym doing split hours where they would go in the morning and work a shift, go home for a few hours, then go back in the evening and work another shift. They were opening and closing a gym every day, 6 freaking days a week, which was a very quick path to burnout. And she shared a story about how the two of them consciously decided to change how they wanted to run their business as a result of that. And then she talked about when the time came to have children and how she was preparing for pregnancy, maternity leave, moving into motherhood with a newborn, and wanting to do that in a way where she did not lose momentum, did not lose income, and did not lose impact in her business. And she approached that in a very specific way. And then even after her children came, there was a whole nother level of growth and learning that she went through personally that then she took into her business. And before you knew it, she was offering new programs and products in her business that came out of her personal experience. All of that was about her doing something differently as the needs in her life changed. And that made an impression on me. And then in episode 188, Emma, who was on a completely different path, but I saw a similar pattern in her. She began in the corporate world. And when the pandemic happened, she told the story about how her life changed during the pandemic and how she had this sort of an awakening about how depleted she had been in ways that she did not even realize. And she very, very consciously made a huge pivot in her life and ended up leaning into like a dream of hers, which had been to write a book. And that dream expanded into a whole new career because she was willing to make changes. Here's what struck me about both of these conversations. Neither one of these women were willing to stay locked into a version of their work that no longer fit them. They were willing to change it. And often they had to do that over and over and over again. So when I started thinking about this, guys, like there's a pattern here that we can learn from, because really there are 2 or 3 specific things that each of these people were doing. And I actually think if you go back and listen to a lot of my interviews, we will recognize this pattern with a lot of my guests. I'm going to be paying attention to this. And because what they did, they didn't do it just once. And it wasn't like this big dramatic pivot. I mean, it was a little bit like that with Emma, but really it was a continuous evolution. So I want you to tune into me here. If you're walking and you're paying attention to what's going on around you, keep doing that. But listen. If you're driving, listen. If you're doing the dishes, listen. I want you to catch this. First, here's what they did. They kept re-choosing what mattered most to them. They kept re-choosing what mattered. And notice, sometimes that changes over time. They didn't assume that the plan they had 5 years ago, 10 years ago, 2 years ago still fit. As their life changed, as their needs changed, as their interests changed, as their environment changed, that they adapted, right? They took a pause. They reassessed what was working, what wasn't, and they made adjustments over and over and over. They re-choose what matters. And I love that because I can actually think of multiple times in my own career when I have done exactly the same. The second thing they did that is absolutely critical is they protected their energy like it actually mattered. It wasn't just about their time, y'all. It was about their energy, their capacity, their ability to serve, their ability to think clearly, their ability to show up, to recover from challenges and changes in their life. They weren't just figuring out how to fill a schedule or how to produce income. That was important. But really, they were managing a resource, not just their time, their literal energy. I cannot tell you how critical that is. It's a lesson I bump into over and over and over and over again. Your energy is a resource, and you must manage it wisely, just like everything else. And these women both did that. And the third thing that they did is they redesigned the what and the how in the delivery of their work. I love that so much. They didn't just work harder at what they were already doing. In both cases, they changed the model completely. Now, Rachel's done that multiple times over like 20 years in her career. In Emma's case, it was a more dramatic pivot, really to a completely different life. And she's only been working with it for about 4 or 5 years at this point. But the similarity was still there. They evolve. Whether it was about how they manage team, staff, assistants, help, about the programs that they are created or the way they are delivering their services. It was about the role that they play with their clients or with their team. The structure changes and continues to change as they do. And y'all, that's exactly what has happened in my practice all the way through. And if you have been with me for a while, you have heard me say that every time you think you got this figured out, hang on, because 2 or 3 years are going to go by and you're going to change it again. That too is the natural evolution of an entrepreneur. And when you lay it all out the way I am laying it out for you here, it sounds really obvious, right? Yeah, we can all agree with this. Of course, Wendy, I got it. Things change. Of course. So what's your point? Well, here's the part that is standing out to me that I keep coming back to. A lot of us can hear all of that. A lot of us can hear these stories. Do y'all remember when I talked to Joe Sanok about his evolution back in the fall? This was the thing I most wanted to know about from him. We can hear these conversations with these people that to us sound like they've got it all figured out. And we can nod along with all of it. We can be inspired by it. We can be like, oh yeah, that's really great. I love that. That's impressive. Yeah. And we can still not change a single daggum thing on Monday morning. Do you hear me? We can listen to story after story, inspiration after inspiration, example after example, and never do a single thing different in our own life and in our role as the CEO of our own show. And that's not because you're confused or because you don't know what to do. You may not know the how, but that's not what stops you. It's not because you're not capable of figuring it out either. It's because when you bump up against something that is uncomfortable, when you bump up against something that is challenging you in your business, it's asking more from you than just insight, y'all. There's a reason why insight does not always lead to action. You get this, don't you? Because you see it in your clients. I know you do. To actually do what Rachel and Emma are doing over and over and over again, you have to go somewhere that's a little tricky. You have to step into something that's going to make you a little squirmy. You have to be willing to let go of something that's working well enough in order to step forward into something that's even better. You have to be willing to take a risk, a serious risk, to face the potential of disrupting your income, of shifting your sense of identity, of even like messing with your sense of stability. Yeah. You have to be willing to step into the unknown, to make decisions sometimes when you don't have any idea how it's going to turn out. You might know what the next step is, but you may not know what the one after that is. Well, isn't that the life of an entrepreneur? Yeah, it is. But here's the thing. A lot of folks get stuck there, and it's not because they're confused. It's because they are standing at their growth edge, trying to decide whether or not they've got the courage to step into that uncomfortable place, which is what all growth feels like. It's a place that matters. It's a place that requires a new version of you to emerge. It's a place where you get to practice, play, experiment, evolve, learn a whole new level. And here's what I know about you. That's what a lot of folks do. That doesn't mean that's what you do. Because I know you. And you've already stepped into that uncomfortable place many, many times, haven't you? But if you find yourself hesitating because, oh, Wendy, I've already figured out all this. Are you telling me do I have to grow? No, of course you don't. But if you're listening to this and you can see places in your business, in your practice, where something just isn't quite fitting you anymore, or maybe it's fine, but you can see something coming down the pike that you would like to step into, a place where you would like to explore, well, here's what I want you to do. I don't want you to go nuts. I don't want you to jump off some cliff, although I have been known to get people there. I don't want you to try to change everything, throw everything out, fix everything. I don't want you to redesign a business in a week. I do want you to start here. I want you to think about one place, one tiny aspect of your practice as it currently works, of your business as you are currently living in it. And think, what no longer matches what you actually need at this phase in your life? Or what is fine, but you know it could be even better because you've got an idea you have been dying to explore? What is that place? And are you willing to tell yourself the truth about it? That's it. That's what I want from you today. I want you to sit with yourself, sit with the space and silence to consider, what is it about my business the way it is right now that I love? And what is it about my business right now that just isn't quite right? And where could you go with that? You guys know this. The first step to solving a problem is recognizing that it even exists in the first place and admitting it to yourself. But oh my gosh, once you can see it, you can start to do something about it. I know you get that. I'm going to offer you something here, okay? If you are standing at that edge, you are looking into the future and you know it's there, you just can't quite grasp it. You can't quite, like it's in the clouds and you can see an outline, but you don't know what to do. You're not quite sure what that next step is. It's fine. You're all good. You are not behind. You are not doing anything wrong. This is what growth always looks like at start. You're just beginning to consider the possibility of something new, something better. Maybe something that you couldn't see before, but now you do. I don't know. But that's where the good stuff starts. So this year, y'all, I have been doing a lot of something that you've heard me talk about here on the podcast called a quick start consult. It's a deep dive where I meet with someone for a couple of hours. Sometimes we can meet in person if you're local, but usually it's online. And we do some serious work into the nature of your practice as it stands. And we explore a very specific area that's not quite working, that's fuzzy, or that has lots of potential if you could just figure out what to do with it. And it is amazing to me, or maybe it shouldn't be at this point, but it still is, how much clarity folks get when they get to think out loud with an objective third party, which is me. Like, it's amazing how far we get in a couple of hours. And recently I had someone say to me, who'd been following me for a long time and has actually done some of my courses, not some of my courses, one of my courses. She said that it had been helpful, that she'd learned a lot just that way, but it made a difference for her to talk to me live because she realized some blind spots that she had not recognized that she even had. And now we are going to dive into those blind spots and we're going to address them. And it's exciting. I'm so excited about the work that I know we are about to do together. So I want to invite you to consider, if you are standing on the edge, looking into the future, and you just need a little help clarifying what that future looks like and beginning to sort of map out an outline of how to move forward, I'd love to help you with that. Set yourself up with a quick start consult. You can read all about it on my website if you go to wendypittsreeves.com and click on the button that says Start Here. That's the easiest way to find it. Or you can just do wendypittsreeves.com/consult. They'll take you to the same place. Read about that. Read about what that's like. And if it sounds good to you, get yourself on my calendar, my friend, because there's a really good chance you and I could do some cool stuff. And I think you'll feel better, excited, clear as a result. Yeah. That's what I wanted to share with you today, because this conversation I've had with Rachel and with Emma these last few weeks has really got me thinking. There is a pattern to what people do. James Wedmore always says, success leaves clues. I've laid out some of those clues for you today. Got it? Okay. All right, my friends, that's what I've got for you this week. I hope it's helpful. I hope it gets your wheels turning. You know I love to do that with you. I like to poke you a little bit. And I hope it gets you thinking about how you can turn insight into action, because that is what makes all the difference in the world. Have a great week, everybody, and I will see you next time right here on the Ideal Practice Podcast. Bye now. Hey, y'all. If this program has become important to you, if Ideal Practice matters, it would mean so much to me if you'd be willing to take just a minute to do one or two of the following things. First of all, would you follow or subscribe to the show here at Ideal Practice? Following me helps you because you'll never miss an episode, but it helps me as well for all kinds of reasons. To do that, all you have to do is go to the show page for Ideal Practice on Apple Podcasts or Spotify or wherever you listen to podcasts. There, just click on the plus sign that you'll usually find in the top right-hand corner, or click on the word follow that you're going to find somewhere there on that page. Of all the things, this really is the most important thing you can do for the podcast itself. While you're there, it would be extra special if you would be willing to give me a 5-star rating, and even better than that, a review with your own words. Your words matter. And when you write what you feel, what you think, you uplift and encourage others. And I love that. If you want to go a step further than that, take your favorite episode or two, one of the ones that has meant a lot to you, and share it with a friend. Could you do one or two of those things for me? I promise I will love you forever. You guys matter to me, and I value your support more than I can possibly say. Thank you, sweet friend, for anything you can do to help me out and support the show. I'll see you again soon.